we'll just jump right in. So essentially, we'll take the first 15 minutes to move through a series of questions for you. We're all going to be interviewing you, so we'll rotate through. I'll ask a question, Laura will ask a question, and Carlin will ask a question. We'll go back through probably 3 times. Then we'll leave space at the last 5 minutes of your interview for you to ask any questions that you have of us. And you may ask whatever questions. So you can ask us about IRA Week, about how this interview is used. You may also run through or practice any role play kind of questions you might want to ask in a more traditional professional interview. I think that's, that little iPad over there, I'm forgetting my spiel here. That little iPad over there is recording you. We have a video recording going. No, this will not be shared with the entire community. This will be used as a tool for you to be able to acknowledge any trends in your interview style, as well as the things you do very well and the things that you want to improve and focus on for the future. That being said, do you have any questions for us before we get started?
No, not right now.
Amazing, great. So in the back of your IRA packet, there are a list of different internship job descriptions for you to select. You can select one to gear your work toward this week. Which of those job descriptions have you focused on?
I selected the QA.
Great, thank you. There's one question that speaks to that, so it's helpful to know. All right, so we'll just jump right in. Just for starters, I would love to learn more about you and what you were doing before you came to Europe in March, and what led you to want to enroll in this program.
Yeah. So, I graduated high school 2011. After high school, I did community college for a couple of years. I didn't really have a set major or anything that I wanted to do, so I was focusing more on my general education. I tried graphic design for a little bit since it was like a hobby of mine. Like I always did Photoshop and Illustrator, so I thought I might want to make a career out of that. Turns out I didn't really like that. It was more of like a hobby than it was anything like that. But before that, I was actually doing engineering / computer science type of deal. I never got to like the core classes for that. I always did. I just did like the math and the science part. I got to calculus and I had a really hard time. So after that, I kind of finished like my IGETI, which is like the transfer requirements, not so much a major requirements. Like I said, I wasn't sure of what I wanted to do, so I took like a gap year. Like I didn't go to school, so I was just working full time. The year before Europe, I was working at a boba store. Do you guys know? Are you guys familiar with boba? Like
the bubble tea?
Yeah, bubble tea.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm still working there now. So I've been working there since last February. I'm a manager there. So I just lead teams, make sure everything's okay, everything's going according to how it's supposed to be going. I deal with customers a lot. I heard about Europe through a coworker of mine whose older brother did the program. So she applied, and she, at the same time I did. Unfortunately, I don't think she got in, but I got in. I felt kind of bad because I don't know if I took her opportunity or if she didn't do something right, but yeah, that's how I heard about the program. I thought it was a really good opportunity because I was stuck in that limbo where I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if I wanted, everything was just really foggy in terms of my future, and I saw Europe as an opportunity to give me a career path and something I was generally interested. Like I said, I was in the engineering, computer science type of thing. So yeah, that's how I got here. I applied, I did the interview process, I got in, and yeah, I'm really happy.
Thank you.
And what is it about tech that gets you excited, and why do you want to work in this field?
Tech, I've always been interested in. It's always been a passion of mine. Since I was in elementary school, my parents had a Windows 98 computer, and I would always be on that. I'd always try to just on Paint and anything else. I remember asking them oh, can I use the internet? And they had to switch off the phone and put on dial-up. Ever since then, I guess I've always just enjoyed being on a computer, the vast possibilities that you can do on a computer. I explored the creative side with Photoshop and Illustrator, and I've always been interested in hardware as well. Like, recently I took apart my MacBook and I switched out the hard drive for a solid state drive just to improve like performance of it. I also increased the RAM on it, and all of my friends are also really interested in like hardware. They build their own PCs. That's something I want to do sometime in the near future. I just don't have the money for that right now. Yeah, it's just always been like something that's surrounded me, and like, I'd love to like be part of that and like how it comes about and like the future of it. Like I want to be part of that.
So this next question has a few pieces to it. So the first piece is, what was your biggest challenge or growth area during the learning and development phase so far? And then what did you do to overcome this challenge? The last piece is thinking ahead to internship. What do you plan to do to make sure that you succeed in this area at internship?
One of my biggest problems starting off with the L&D phase was getting to Europe. So I live in Pittsburgh, which is about an hour away. It's an hour and a half commute from BART. I struggled with like time management as far as getting to Europe, so I arrived late a couple of the first times. I realized that what I had to do to tackle that issue was come earlier, so like leave room for error, because most of the time I was late because of BART delays. Like there was a period of time where BART from Pittsburgh to Concord was like closed off, so you had to like shuttle and bus, and then so what I did was I either drove all the way to the next BART station, or I just left as early so that there was like room for error. And ever since then, I haven't been late. Yeah. And as far as taking that towards internship, I just want to follow like the same procedure, like always leave room for error, like traffic, BART delays.
Yeah, great, thank you. So with the QA job description in mind, why do you feel that you are a strong candidate for a QA internship role?
QA is not something that I'm familiar with, but I want to become familiar with it just because of my strengths in my evaluation. My first evaluation, I got a 4 in my HTML web development class, and no one else in my LC got that, and I just thought that was like, oh, that's like one of my biggest strengths, like coding, working with code. And so as far as coding goes, QA is the most involved in that, and I really want to broaden my like information on that specific like course. So that's why I chose QA, because it's something that I don't have a lot of knowledge of, so it's a clean slate, so I can build it and build it strong, so it has like a good foundation, as opposed to going to something I'm already familiar with, but I'm kind of like, the foundation isn't as strong.
Great, thank you. And as someone who has minimal coding experience, it would be helpful to understand, what do you enjoy about coding? What do you love about coding?
I prefer working alone. I can work in a team, fine. It's just working alone, I feel like I don't get distracted as much, and I know a lot with coding is just you and the computer one-on-one, and I think that's why I enjoy the most about it. I also like seeing product come to life. Like, you see all these lines and all these like, texts, and if someone sees that, they're like, oh, what does that mean? But you know what it means, and when you see it come to life, it's exciting, right?
Awesome, thank you.
I'm gonna shift gears a little bit, and this one is a scenario. So imagine you and I are working together, and I have a room full of tech equipment. What kind of tools and processes would you put in place to keep all of it organized and keep track of everything?
Labels are your best friend. I think I would just label everything in subcategories. So, for example, like if it was just a bunch of hardware, I like put all the RAM in one place and label it by like size or anything like the CPUs, the motherboards, but also keep all of that in one space, kind of like file management. Like you have like one big folder and you have subfolders for those folders and you have subfolders for that. So just organizing it in labels.
And how would you keep track of, things leaving the room and coming back?
Sign-in sheets similar to, I don't know if we do that anymore here, but with the computers, like when you grab a computer, you're supposed to sign out your name, what number, so also like number the parts. If they're using it, sign it out. Okay, this person took this, so we're keeping track of that.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Sorry, just writing down. Thanks. What do you think makes you stand out amongst your peers in the workplace?
It's a great question. I think what makes me stand out the most is my personality, as far as just soft skills go. I'd like to think I'm funny, and other people would describe me as funny as well. As far as like my hard skills go, I think my variety of hard skills makes me stand out. Like I can work with code really well. I know the parts of the computer really well. I have design background. I can design a logo, or I have I guess the creative side to me. I know Photoshop and Illustrator. So just the variety of things that I offer is something that I think helps me stand out from my peers.
Thank you. What is one specific hard skill that you have developed during L&D that will positively impact your internship experience?
I think just strengthening my my hardware. I was a little bit familiar with it, but just because I know what the parts are, and say if I'm in an internship that does IT stuff, I think it'll definitely help me as opposed to if I was in that role before I came to Europe, just because I wasn't familiar with it. But I think that also goes with a lot of the other hard skills that we learned here, especially web development, building a website. I never thought I'd be able to do that. I guess I was familiar with it a little bit, back in the day with MySpace. It used HTML, and I didn't know that, but I was using it at the time, but I didn't know what it was. And just strengthening that, learning about how to put it online, on a server. I think that's will definitely help me positively in my internship.
Thank you.
Can you talk about a time that you worked with a group on a project and how you figured out how to divide the work and kind of what role you played in that?
It's a great question. A time where I worked in a group. I feel like I do that a lot. I can't think of a specific time right now. Even here at Europe, we do a lot of group work. Usually I like to take on the role of the leader, just because I have that experience in my job as well. I like to ask everyone first, what do you want to do, or what do you feel is your what you can best contribute to the team? And then I usually just take on the role that isn't being filled, and then if people need help or if I need help, I like to ask them. I'm always there to help. Yeah.
So that was